Okay, hi everyone, let's look at number 59, Jason and the Golden Fleece. First sentence, Jason ieson igitur cum calceum amisum nullo modo recipere posset. Jason, therefore, cum posset, cum plus the subjunctive, posset, when he was not able, cum posset, or when he was able, nullo modo, in no way, recipere, to recover the amisum calceum, the missing sandal, the sandal amisum, I suppose you could say, having been lost. Amisum there is a PPP, perfect passive participle. So when he was in no way able to recover the having been lost or the lost sandal, he pervenit, he arrived in regiam, into the kingdom, uno pede nudo, with one bare foot. Cum Peleas vidicet quem, when Peleas, look at that word quem that you see at the beginning of the sentence. Occasionally you'll see this, or not occasionally actually, it's very often, particularly in unseens, you'll see that quem will, or a relative pronoun in the accusative, will often start off a sentence, and we call it the connecting relative, where it's sort of connecting your sentence to the previous sentence. So it's cum Peleas, when Peleas had seen which man. So you could just say, when Peleas saw him, he subito, he was suddenly adfectus est, that's obviously a perfect passive, he was suddenly affected with timore, he was suddenly affected with fear. Enim intellexit, for he understood. As soon as I see this word intellexit, I'm thinking to myself, where is there going to be an accusative? Ta-da, and ta-da, and ta-da, and you've got there the, oh, I'm sorry, that last ta-da was ta-da erroneously. So, for he understood, here was the final ta-da there. So, for he understood that hunc esse, this man to be the man, quem, whom the oracle demonstravisset, had shown. So we have there the the indirect statement, which was what I was ta-daing about, the indirect statement there with intellexit, verb of saying or thinking, and then we have the accusative infinitive. For he understood that this man was the man whom the oracle demonstravisset had talked about, had predicted. Hoc igitur consilium init. Therefore he embarked upon hoc consilium, this plan. Rex erat quidam aetis. There was a certain king, qui, who obtenebat, who was ruling the kingdom of Colchis twab, time when ablative illo tempore, at that time. There was a certain king who was ruling the kingdom of Colchis at that time. Which to him commissum erat, had been commissioned, had been entrusted, maybe better here than commissioned. To him had been entrusted a velus or illud velus, that aureum velus, that golden fleece, quod which Phrixus olem once had left behind there. So which there is the pronoun, and it is in the dative. So the subject is actually illud aureum velus. That golden fleece, commissum erat, had been entrusted to this man, quod which Phrixus had once left there. Constituit rather igitur Peleas Jasoni negotium dare. Therefore, Peleas decided to give the duty or the job to Jason, ut to potiretur, to obtain hoc velere, this fleece. Potiretur there is in the subjunctive. Why? It looks like it's passive subjunctive, but it's not passive subjunctive. It looks like it's passive subjunctive because it is a deponent verb that looks passive but is actually active. So we know that it's active, therefore. He decided to give the job to Jason, or to gather or to obtain this. He gave the job that he might obtain. It is subjunctive because it is an indirect command. Imagine it being the sentence he ordered him to obtain, which is essentially exactly what this is. He gave him the job, ut, to obtain hoc velere, this fleece. Cum enim res esset. For since res, now we say that res can mean matter. I think matter is possibly better translated here as task. For since the task was magni periculi, causal clause there, was of great danger, sperabat, he was hoping, as soon as I see he was hoping, I'm thinking Right, let's look for an accusative and then look for an infinitive. We've got here future. Periturum. Remember amatorum, to love, or amatorus, to love, portatorus, to carry, peritorus, to die. For he sperabat was hoping him, esse, to be about to die on the journey. Now that doesn't sound very good, so let's translate it in a better fashion. For he was hoping that he would die in itinere, on the journey. Jasonem igitur. Year 9 mistake, obviously, to make jasonem the subject of your next sentence. You're all far too wise to do that. Igitur, therefore, find your subject, arcesiwit. Therefore, he summoned, it's within the verb, he summoned Jason adse to himself. Therefore, he called Jason to him, et, and, cohortatus, and, having cohortus, having, what do we want to say there? Having encouraged him, he doquit, he told him, quid, what he velet wanted fieri to happen. Now, why is velet in the subjunctive? Well, he doquit, he told him quid. This is the important word, quid. Quid. It's a question word, isn't it? What is going to happen is a direct question. He said what he wanted to happen becomes an indirect question. That is why velet is in the subjunctive. So, and having encouraged him, having spoken to him, he told him what he wanted to happen. Ille, cohortor is sort of, I suppose, I encourage. Having encouraged him, he told him what he wanted to happen. Ille, he, etsi, even though he intelegebat, even though he understood rem esse difficilimam, even though he understood the task to be very difficult. Again, I see intelegebat, and I am thinking that because it is a verb of saying or thinking, there is very possibly going to be an accusative, which I see there, tada, and then we have esse, tada, again. So he, even though he understood that the task was difficilimam, let's look at that ilimam, which tells us that we're dealing with the superlative. Don't know why I'm writing that out. So even though he understood that the task was very difficult, he suscepit libenter, he gladly suscepit, took on the job. And think to yourself, what would it be if it was libentius? If it was libentius, it would be a comparative adverb. I only say that because everyone forgets comparative adverbs. He, even though he understood the task was very difficult, superlative, libenter, gladly, suscepit, took on the negotium, took on the job. That is the end of the Golden Fleece.